Games.
Yep, we're going.
I'm a Cacodemon.
Well, that was recorded.
I'm really glad that it was.
I'm a cacodemon.
Calling a hair.
I got fire in my mouth.
Now look, Midge, I'm a cacodemon.
I'm a big eyeball.
Nothing but cacodemon in this pre-roll.
Yeah.
I mean, you know that's true.
Is it 179?
Cacodemon.
It is. Because next week's episode 180.
Let's fucking get this shit going.
I hope it's the Fiver next week.
The Fiver.
We're trying to get all five.
That'll be fun. That'd be really fun.
Nick Brecken better fucking come through.
Yes, dude.
It's been like 2 months, 3 months.
He said,
believe in
pencil me
Nick.
in. That's written in blood.
Yeah.
In blood on stone.
Scrawled on a wall. Alien Isolation. Talk about that later.
Yes. Yes.
There's blood on walls in that?
Oh,
Don't
yeah.
stop. Sorry, I shouldn't have said anything.
It's October 8th, 2014.
This is Idle Thumbs 179. I'm Chris Remo.
I'm Jake Rodkin.
And I'm Danielle Riendo.
Hey.
Hey, guys.
Yo.
Oh, hi, Chris.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi. Hello.
So I woke up early this morning to play Alien Isolation before work.
Oh,
Because, man, I'm just
Good
jumping
idea.
straight into it, I guess.
let's do it.
No
Yeah.
waffling here.
I thought there was going to be a story there. Like, so I woke up early this morning to play a video game, and I played it.
No, I did a thing that I rarely do. I often intend to, because it feels like I have so little time to play video games in my life that I have to really go out of my way. And so I really tried this morning. And usually when I say I'm going to do that, I don't do it. And today I did. I played like an hour of it, which is not great, but I know that, Danielle, you've played a lot more of it. So I'm okay with introducing it, having only played an hour. And actually, I guess...
So what did you think about the Alien?
Well, I guess the actual bigger takeaway for me specifically, and this is not inherent to Alien Isolation, but this was the most recent game I played after having played like 2 hours of Shadow of Mordor.
Oh,
And
okay.
they just couldn't... Within the realm of like big 3D AAA games, they could not be further apart tonally and atmospherically and mechanically and every way setting. They're so different. It's
One's sci-fi game, one's a fantasy game. One's third person, one's first person.
no, but
one has aliens, one has orcs.
much more fundamentally than that.
I know.
Mordor. It's weird because Lord of the Rings at this point, everyone's sort of visual conception of it is the Peter Jackson movies. And those movies have huge, big, gratuitous battle scenes and all that shit. But then they also have doe-eyed little men saying, "Can't they, Gandalf?" And
Yes.
So that exists. This game is not even...
Which, Alien?
No, Mordor. Shadow of Mordor is just balls to the wall, fucking orc slicing. This game should just have
Orc slicing.
I feel like this when I think about this game, my recollection of playing this game, it has like a heavy metal soundtrack on it. The game doesn't, but when I think of what it is, I think
But
of
your replay
You
video
think of Brutal
will.
Legend.
yeah, I think of like the like British death metal albums that had artwork that were inspired by Tolkien, but then those albums are just 40 minutes of just
Wasn't
sonic
like all the
cacophony.
early
Yes.
Dragon Age marketing was like that?
Yeah.
Oh, totally.
It had
Was
like
it not just
Marilyn
like-
Manson and stuff.
Yeah, that's right. It was Marilyn Manson
Yeah.
stuff.
And when I think about my experience, because they try to, the cutscenes, they want to make them sort of poignant and, it's like, oh, this man and like his wife died, I guess, and oh, how sad he is, and now he's a wraith, and isn't that just tragic
very
for him.
Touching. Yes.
But it's like it's not at all. Like the actual story of this game is like, now you're a fucking ghost and you get to kick the shit out of every orc in the world, and you kill them again and again, and you keep killing the same ones, and they remember who you are because you killed them so hard, and it just is that forever, just forever. And there's like, you pick flowers to make your health better, but I mean, fundamentally, everywhere you go, there are just orcs who hate you, and you murder them constantly. It's so weird because it doesn't. There's a really great. Sorry, I said I was going to talk about Alien Isolation, but
no, it's
most of my
fucking fake out.
Yeah, I know. Most of my experience of playing Alien Isolation was experiencing the whiplash from just having played Shadow of Mordor like 9 hours earlier, and then playing this. But there was a really great reflection on Shadow of Mordor by. Do you guys know Carolyn Pettit? She was formerly of GameSpot.
Oh, yeah. She's a great writer.
Yeah, she is a great writer. And she wrote, I think, a really good blog post just on her Tumblr about Shadow of Mordor, which was about a number of things, including just the completely unimaginative and kind of ridiculous portrayal of women, which is like a totally valid observation. But the other observation I made that I thought was even more specific to this game.
You made?
Did I say I? I meant she.
That's
okay.
Sorry. The reason I say I is
but the even better observation
you
that I
agree with her, yeah.
No, because she really summed up something that I had sort of felt but had not crystallized into words as well as she did, which is that the Lord of the Rings originally. So she, like I, is not a particularly big Lord of the Rings fan, but I understand a basic component of the story of the Lord of the Rings, which is that power is corrupting, and we should be fearful of the transformative effects that great power has on us because they are seductive and twisting and corrupting and dangerous and so on. And that, I mean, that's a very, very clear, obvious message of those stories. And she points out that in this game, they use that exact, like, you get sort of, you die and then you get kind of brought back to life sort of by this wraith character who has the power of one of the great rings from the Lord of the Rings. And you gain access to that power through him, who I guess also had a family who died. So you're like stoic men linked in forged in the fires of dead families with access to this crazy ring power that you use to just endlessly be a total badass who murders orcs all the time. But it's 100%
You're supposed
awesome.
to then fall in Lord of the Rings mythology, right? That
Right.
ends atrociously for you, guaranteed.
Right. But I mean, this game, it's just mechanically, all you ever do is just be amazing.
We're going to focus on that part when you first get the ring.
Right.
And you're sick.
Yeah. And I haven't finished the game, but she did finish the game. And so I trust her evaluation that is not really ever, paid off.
Really
You're not
addressed.
saying there's a twist where you become Sauron.
Right. Yeah. She said at the end of the game, there's kind of like a ramp up, and it's sort of set up such that they could make a sequel of more exploits of sort of orc slaying ring power. I mean, it sounds like the way that they wrap it up is not like subverting this.
Right. A question mark fades up on the end.
All this to say, that doesn't make what they have chosen to do with the game bad, but it does make it feel like kind of a pointless adaptation, right? Like, all of this is the actual playing the game Shadow of Mordor is actually really entertaining, I think. And I like that a developer, this was Monolith, the developer that I like a lot. We talked about this last week. I like Monolith a lot. And I really respect that they took a game that could have just been very rote in its gameplay execution, and they didn't do that. They actually made it this kind of interesting ecosystem full of these orc leaders who have their own traits and strengths and weaknesses, and you find them on a map, and there's sort of this Assassin's Creed like map unlocking, and this whole world is all contiguous, and the orcs will remember the ways in which you wounded them, and you get those great moments that you only can get in games where systems are interacting robustly. My favorite moment that I had when I was playing was I tracked down this orc that I was chasing, and instead of running in and slashing around with my sword, which is what I'd mainly been doing, I stood up on a ridge and I fired, 6 arrows into his head, and he started fleeing at a certain point because I'd wounded him enough and I wasn't there to finish him off, and I ran out of my arrow stuff, which you have to recharge by sucking energy out of orcs with your ring hand or whatever, your ring power.
Yeah.
And
your ring, probably.
I don't think you actually have a ring. I think it's this Wraith character who helps you once, when he was alive, had this power, and now you can. I don't know.
He's
it doesn't matter.
bestowing it on
the story
you. Yeah.
is
power
not
of ring.
Yes.
is not compelling. It's just not.
Yeah.
But anyway, so this guy turns to flee, and as he's fleeing, he distracts these two big beast monsters that the orcs ride on, and they turn on him and chase him as he's fleeing, and then they kill him. And I was so fascinated by this, and because it came out of nowhere. I was just fighting this guy with arrows, and there were other orcs kind of swarming around in this battle with these other creatures. And then as he turns to flee, that affects the other orcs, who then themselves get demoralized, which disrupts the battle between those monsters they were having, which then go after the main guy, and they just bat him around for a while. And as I watch this happening from a vantage point, it's just great because he gets up and tries to run another direction, and then one of them headbutts him to the side, and now he's closer to the other one, who then attacks him. And it took 3 minutes for this to finish playing out.
And you just silently watched it happen, of course.
Well,
That's awesome.
Because they kept moving forward, because he kept trying to run away, and then he'd get a little farther, and then one of them would knock him over again. So I was just following 30 paces behind. Right. I was just creeping from rock to rock, agape, watching this happen. I mean, I didn't plan or expect this at all. It was an amazing moment. So that kind of thing is really, really cool. It feels like it's situated, and there's just strange dissonant things, not dissonant, but things that I find unappealing. The fact that your character and this Wraith guy both, Carolyn mentioned this as well, and this was also something that when I started playing immediately jumped out at me, and I don't remember if this is what it was like in the movies or not. I don't really remember what the orcs were like in the films, but in this world, in this game, your character and your wife and everyone who's like you speaks in this very proper English accent, this very kind of...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the orcs generally have lower...
Yeah, the orcs
British
just
accents in the
Cockney kind of, yeah.
Is that weird? Did anyone comment on that? Was that how the movies were?
It was.
It was how the movies were, but it's strange also because this game is not based on the film license. This game is a...
It seems like it's not. Even though it's obviously supposed to evoke the movies.
Yeah, it's
clearly not actually
based
on them.
It's a direct license from the books.
Right. In any case, that...
But which even further doesn't justify making a
right.
question.
Yeah,
Well, the thing that's especially weird about it, to me anyway, this is the thing that struck me as just strange, and maybe this is just how Lord of the Rings is, and I don't know enough about Lord of the Rings to know this is just how it is, but it's weird to me that the orcs, as far as I can tell, have complete mastery of spoken language, have a society system, have social roles and jobs and leaders and language and structures that they build. They are a society,
mm-hmm.
but you just murder them constantly. And your Wraith guy tells you they're just evil. You just have to murder them. They have to all die.
It's implied.
What is that supposed to mean?
The books are they're still just the villain race in the books, but it's implied more that they're largely conscripted troops by the enemy, and they don't naturally live in this part of the world. And also there's some aggressive breeding or something that takes place. There's all...
Yeah, that's in the movies a bit too.
Yeah, but they just get sliced out of weird goo packets.
Yeah,
in the
basically.
Movies.
There's some weird racism in the books in general, in the kind of the world in general, in terms of this race is a good race and this race is a bad race.
Yeah.
And there's definitely some weird real life racial overtones to it
when
too.
the Dark Easterners show
Exactly.
up and riding elephants.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah,
But,
it's pretty...
Yeah, so I don't remember that. I don't remember it
gross.
well enough because I haven't read these
It
books
all
since I was
kind
a
of
kid.
exists on the fringes, but orcs are not written to talk just uneducated idiots in the books necessarily. It feels like they're just written like a band of sort of soldiery people.
I mean, I understand the concept of two sides being in opposition and you not caring about the subtleties of a society when you're fighting in a war. That makes sense. But what's weird about this is that you are positioned as this just like lone vigilante who just goes out of his way to just massacre infinite orcs. That's the thing that feels weird about it. Not like, I totally get, okay, there's two sides in a war and there's a battle and like we need to like attack this.
That doesn't feel hugely out of place for Lord of the Rings, but that character would not ever be the protagonist of a story in that universe, I don't think, except in a video game.
Yeah.
Like, I could see them coming across a super happy guy who's just excited about running around and chopping off heads.
Right.
Because he exists in all fantasy war stories.
Yeah.
But
this is just weird because this guy is portrayed as such like an honorable, kind of admirable person. I don't know. It's just strange. It feels, I guess, unsurprisingly, very much like how it feels to play Batman in Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, because a lot of the combat model is like directly.
It's a lot of that same sort of
inspired by that
context-aware stuff.
Yeah, you have different actions. You have parry and attack, and you have your bow, and you have you know grab and so on. But the whole thing feels very much like Batman, where your character will sort of snap to the nearest enemy,
right?
You know, so you can kind of just quickly pinball between different enemies the exact same way you do in Batman. Yeah. And it's you know it's also the power dynamic is stacked the way it is in Batman, where you're just a lot more durable and you can be pretty sloppy and you'll just kind of bounce around and mainly be okay as long as you parry sometimes. It just feels, which isn't, it's not terrible. It's just how it feels. It's just similar. I'm only saying it so that people who have played Batman understand what it feels like. But it reminds me of a component of those games, which I remember feeling when I played those, which was, man, Batman just knocks the shit out of a lot of these guys. Because Batman is supposed to never kill anyone. But it's like, I did things to people in Arkham Asylum. Yes. They would be dead. They would be dead as dead. Yes. Like, there's no way for those guys not to be dead. And I guess the fiction is conceivably like, Batman is such an expert that he knows exactly how to throw the guy so that he doesn't shatter his brain when he... But I mean, you know, these guys are dead. Yeah. They're dead men. And that always struck me as really weird, that in a Batman story, you are just this utter just agent of death, you know, like in a way that, like, if you were telling the villain's story in either Lord of the Rings or Batman, you like the character you play in these games, that would just be a story that the good guys tell about a bad guy. They're like this
here's a serial killer.
This like unredeemable force of evil who murders all without a moment's hesitation. Like, that's just the bad guy in those worlds.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, with Batman, you can tell that they did all that stuff so that the actual pacing of those fights feels like the pacing of a Batman encounter with hoodlums reads on the page in a comic book, regardless of the outcome. But obviously in a video game, the outcome is visible. Is present.
Right, yeah. Exactly, yeah. Yeah, you can gloss over it a lot more in a comic book where now it's just out of frame or something, yeah. And also, the sheer number of enemies you have to dispatch with in a game like this just dwarfs that of any other thing. Right. Anyway, I don't mean to just completely crap all over Shadow of Mordor. I really don't, because a lot of the things that they actually achieve in the game, I think, are quite impressive, and I do give them a lot of credit for doing something completely outside of the norm for the kind of job that a developer, like if a developer given this contract, this is a more impressive goal and, like, you know, execution of that goal gameplay wise than I would expect. And that's cool. And that's
where
cool.
Someone's like Assassin's Creed / Batman, but Lord of the Rings. Which is, it's got to be where the pitch came down.
Oh, maybe the internal pitch.
Yeah.
But that's not what they were given by the publisher, I bet.
Probably.
That's way too specific.
We have Lord of the Rings do a thing.
Well, I mean, they probably said, give us some pitches.
Yeah.
And then they did. But I don't know what happened. In any case, I don't figure it out. I don't associate movie license games, like movie license action games.
This is an adaptation of literature, Chris.
Oh, true. Sorry.
It's a literary adaptation.
For all intents and purposes,
this is the
it's
text.
A movie license. Yeah. In terms of, like, the cultural capital that it is banking on.
Yeah. Video game fans.
It exists in a world where
movies.
massively successful Lord of the Rings movies came out within the last decade. Or whenever. Maybe it was more than a decade ago, however long it was.
Massively successful ones may not have come out within the last decade. They did. It was within the last
That's probably
decade.
True.
But highly suspicious ones came out within the last half decade.
Yeah, yeah.
And year, frankly.
Yeah, and coming soon.
Yeah,
Have you-
and coming soon.
Have you played any more of this game?
I've played a bit, and
Yeah.
I largely sort of agree with what you're saying. Like for me, the disconnect between the story and the actions in the world, it just feels like this is what AAA gaming is now.
Oh, yeah,
stories that are about someone who is supposedly more sensitive and more cares about their family, and the it ties into the sort of datification stuff that was going on a year or two ago with Elizabeth in BioShock Infinite and Ellie in The Last of Us, and sort of the protagonist being this like kind of like every man white man, and he has a daughter figure to protect, that sort of thing. Like it just seems to me this is all in keeping with that sort of theme of like the more sensitive man who also happens to murder 600,000 of whatever you're fighting in that given
no one
game.
that well adjusted is also this guy.
Exactly.
Like you gotta be one of them,
Exactly.
maybe, but probably not both.
I mean, I think The Last of Us probably did a better job of that, expressing that this person is actually a psycho, or became one because of surviving that world.
The Last of Us also like constantly pays off the relationship, whereas in this game, this guy's dead family only ever exists as his dead family. Like they
were just
they exist in the
basically.
Introduction to the thing, and then that's it. Then that's their forever
his motivation.
Just his motivation, and that's it.
Yeah, which always kind of sucks. Like I'm not a big fan of that trope.
No, nor am I. I mean, Last of Us, they at least like they owned it. Like,
they owned it.
The whole game is that.
And then the DLC really kind of made good on the fact that the woman character is actually really great and cool and awesome in her own light and all that. But yeah, I like the gameplay though.
Yeah,
like you're saying, like
fun,
I'm enjoying it and I'm enjoying the world, and I've actually been having a lot of fun just with sort of the orc personalities, or the Uruk-hai, or whatever they're called. I know there's like a difference in Lord of the Rings lore of the higher up orcs are the Uruk-hai, and then the lower orcs are orc, whatever it is. I'm not an expert on this lore by any means, but sort of just the weird personalities.
You're not an expert on this Loric-hai.
Yeah, this Loric-hai.
Sorry, continue.
Sorry, I farted.
That was excellent. That was an excellent microphone fart.
Jake's mixing up the classic fart sound.
I'm loving it. The helium fart. Yeah, it's good.
The human fart?
The helium fart.
Oh, the helium fart.
high-pitched,
Yeah, the escaping
My sister
fart.
once made a classification system when she was about 8 of different kinds of farts.
Oh, that's the helium fart?
Just wanted you to know. Yeah, that was the helium fart right there. I'm really glad I put that bit of lore. See, that's Danielle lore.
That's
We've got Lord of the Rings lore.
We just got a lore dump, if you will.
You just oh, excellent. Oh, that's really good. Sorry. Anyway, I'm really having a lot of fun with the orcs and their kind of weird personalities and like the way they look and the way they act on the battlefield and sort of the different ways. Of course, the verbs in this game are all about killing things, but the ways that you have to use different sort of verbs to kill them. Like this one, he's weak to mounts, so you have to kill him in a specific way. Things like that. I like they're mixing it up.
This one will die to a single ranged headshot.
Yeah,
stuff like that, where it's like, okay, that actually like. That kind of thing is really nice in a game like this because often you'll fall back on just using the path of least resistance, which in this game is like run in and just mash A forever or whatever the button is.
They make you actually mix up your techniques.
Yeah, they don't make you, but they kind of softly remind you, like, this guy you could take out this way, and then by extension, don't forget you have this tool. And that kind of thing is cool, right? Like, I like things like that because it's directly tied in to the actual core systems of the game. Like, these are randomly generated strengths and weaknesses, but it also kind of is a reminder to make use of your whole tool set.
Yeah, I really dig sort of the gameplay. I just sort of wish the world and the story actually fit into that. Like, hey, how about you're just a crazy psychotic killer? Like, that's fine.
It made me wish that there was a game that was like. It makes me want to play a game like this that is not as dark and dismal as either this or the Batman game.
Yeah.
That is structured like Shadow of Mordor, but this is such a shitty go-to that everyone brings up all the time when anyone ever talks about stylized games. But like something in like the TF2 universe or something would be perfect for this gameplay.
That'd be fun
because it's so like it's so tongue-in-cheekly gratuitous in a way that Lord of the Rings is not. Like Lord of the Rings is so sincere and like gravel voiced, and it's just not how this gameplay is at all.
Honor bound and noble.
Yeah.
And blah,
Valve
blah, blah.
conscripts Monolith to make a game where you choose one of 9 characters to play in, but it's the sequel to the Man vs. Machine co-op thing, but it's just the robots are just fucking out of control.
Just there's a huge world.
So
and
just one guy must stand alone against a million wacky fucking robots.
That would be
God, that would be
great.
so good.
Yeah.
With their crazy robot lords.
Yeah. With the huge tanks and giant versions of guys and stuff. Yeah.
That would be cool.
Oh,
I would play that.
I want that.
Yeah.
Team Fortress 2 Rise of the Machines.
Yeah. That would be really fun.
That would be awesome.
Okay. That's fine. No, that's
What?
good.
Do you disagree that would
No,
be
it's,
good?
as long as all of your hats port over, it's fine. As long as that happens, it's
As long
okay.
as your hats poured over and are randomly, persistently worn
By
the
robots.
robots in the game.
Full hat integration.
Yeah.
And they would be introduced with the, zoom in, but then you would see them in the hat. It would have their actual hat from your collection.
Right.
And it would...
Your actual objective is to get your hat collection back.
Oh,
Oh,
my
man.
god.
That would be perfect for that world, too.
Yeah, because the leaders of all these different stupid robot groups
Yeah.
have stolen your shit.
It's just like the plot of Donkey Kong Country.
Is it?
They stole the bananas.
They did steal his bananas.
Oh.
It's just like the plot of Kangaroo Jack. I guess in that he steals the stuff. I guess it's the
Yeah.
different situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's the other side.
Yeah.
That's the Orcs version.
Yes.
Kangaroo Jack is like an interesting retelling of Team Fortress 2 Rise of the Machines, Shadow of Mordor, told from the other perspective.
Told for the other.
Shadow of Mordor.
You've
Country.
played these 5 games. Now play
Now
the other
imagine-
side.
Now watch Kangaroo Jack.
I mean, I would. Just saying.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
Now I really want this fictional game that will never exist because Valve will obviously never make this.
Team Fortress 2, Shadows of Mordor, or Shadow.
Yeah.
Single
Shadow.
There's only one Shadow.
Shadow of the Machines.
Rise of the Shadow.
You know what
of
would be
the
a funny thing
Machines.
is if Monolith did the weird thing where they take the subtitle of the game and then spin that out into their own kind of weird spin-off
Oh, so if there's
franchise.
blank, Shadow of blank forever?
Yeah, right. The way Total War started as
Right.
I think
or how,
Shogun Total War was the first one, and then
like the board game Risk Legacy,
yeah, exactly.
there's now
Rob
Davio's,
Rob
but he
Davio.
was working with the guys who made Pandemic, so Pandemic Legacy exists
right
now.
Oh.
exactly.
But then he's also
Oh, yeah.
making Seafall a legacy game. So legacy. So Shadow of is the new thing that just means it's a
this
sick
kind of large
Yeah.
pseudo open world kind of playability
persistent
based
enemy.
persistent enemy action game. That would be great.
That would be really fun.
That's fine.
I mean, if put a cool theme and art style on it.
No One Lives Forever, Shadow of
Oh my
something.
god.
Shadow of H.A.R.M.
Yes.
H.A.R.M. being the evil organization's acronym in that game.
I would play the shit out of that.
I don't know if that game would make
I don't
sense
think
for
that
you to
game
just
would-
murder a million people.
Well, they tried to make they made a game called No One Lives Forever Contract Jack. That was their attempt to make a sort of action first person shooter game, and it was not good, and no one remembers it. So I guess
So I
that
guess
universe
maybe
is
it's
not suited to that.
Not gonna work. Still, anything no one lives forever. I would just what I would do for
I know,
a
right?
new good game in
Weren't
that
they hinting
series.
at a return
I
of that
feel like
at some
they
point
were,
this
yeah.
past year? Yeah.
I
Sometime
think the
the
summer.
problem was
I feel
they
like.
could never figure out who owned. It was one of those weird
Yeah.
things where it was like owned by 3 different companies, and they couldn't figure out which parts of the rights resided with
Sure.
with who.
It was something. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't remember the details, but it was something complicated
Yeah.
like that.
So Alien Isolation.
So yeah, that was all the things you were thinking
That
about.
was all
playing
going through my
Alien
head, right?
Isolation.
I love Alien Isolation, and it's just so quiet and sterile. Not really sterile because it's shit is busted up and
It's not sterile because shit is busted.
but it's sterile compared
Busted
to
sterile.
like the design of the world is sterile, even if now it's
even if someone left
now
it like
it's fucked up.
fast food wrapper around.
yeah,
or whatever.
exactly.
Yeah. Totally.
And it's quiet most of the time. You're most of the time the only character around. It's first person, so it's inherently more isolating. It just feels completely different from Mordor in almost every way.
It feels. I was gonna say it feels actually very, very true to the fiction, to the alien world. Basically.
Sometimes too much so.
You think so? Yeah.
Well, and just in how directly it's like,
Sure.
hello, Ripley, daughter of Ripley. I mean, they don't say that, but that's like how, like,
that sounds like a Lord of the Rings thing. Like
Yeah, I know.
Ripley, daughter of Ripley.
because like you meet your like sort of the obvious android guy,
Company robot.
robot guy who calls you Ripley, and you're like Ripley, and then he's like, we think we found your mother, and it's like, okay, like
Yes.
it's a little
on
bit
the
much
nose for sure.
sometimes. But
There's no question.
I guess it's fine. I don't. It's not actually a problem.
Yeah.
But the setting feels like it's more just
Yeah. Yes, it does. The setting yes. They made an adaptation where they did the total opposite. With Mordor, you get the sense they're like, all right, we have this crazy world with like 1 million books and movies and all this shit. Like, let's just put it. We have this crazy idea for an action game. Let's put it inside that. I don't know if that's how it actually happened, but you get the feeling it could have been. Whereas Alien Isolation is like, we're making an Alien game, like the first movie Alien. That we're making that.
Yeah.
That's what we're making. Just a totally different. It's a totally different attitude to adaptation.
Yeah, I mean, I was so excited to play this game. I streamed it for about 3 hours last night, and I was actually doing the thing that a child does on like Christmas Eve, like jumping up and down in place while it was like the countdown was happening, because I was that excited about this game.
Yeah.
Like this and Costume Quest, which I know are the most opposite things ever, but are sort of like my most anticipated games of like all this year, probably next year. Just for the foreseeable future.
Did your excitement persist through those 3 hours?
It did.
Nice.
I mean, it's definitely going to be a frustrating game. And we quit because it was getting to a frustrating point. And I'm really actually glad that I'm not reviewing this game, because that means I can play for 3 hours, take a break.
Totally.
Play for 3 hours. I can spread this out.
I played it for like maybe an hour and a half today, and I was kind of at that
enough.
point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll go back and play more.
Sure.
But I totally know what you mean in terms of like, okay, I'm good for a while. Like, I'm good for now.
Exactly. It's so tense. Like, this game is so incredibly tense, and it really nails sort of the feeling of being in the last hour of Alien, the movie, where it's kind of just Ripley and Jonesy the cat. Yes.
That's the thing I'm worried about, actually, because Alien spends so long, the movie, being so kind of mundane in a really great way, like not in a bad way at all.
Rise up as a main character until like a third of the way through the film.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Whereas in this thing, like pretty early on, like pretty quickly after you take control, you're in a crazy space station where things are already completely fucked up. There's like graffiti all over the walls. Shit is destroyed. Like you're immediately. And that is the part that is kind of a bummer to me so far, I guess, is like, okay, it's another game where like people scrawled desperate messages on the walls, and there are audio logs that you just find on the ground that are tape recorders.
At least it's in a 6th space station for the first time in a long time.
I know.
That's true.
Don't get me wrong. Like, I don't mean to sound ungrateful here, because that's rad.
It's been a while since a sick, abandoned space station was spookified.
You know how long it's been? Basically, I think, since the game that started this whole thing, which was System Shock 2.
Dead Space has some sick, spookified
Oh, yeah, Dead Space.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true. Dead Space has
But,
that.
not like this.
Yeah. No, you're right about Dead Space. You're totally correct.
Especially the first one, for sure.
Yeah. But it slightly bummed me out, I guess. I don't know what you necessarily would have done in a a systems-oriented video game so I'm not blaming them for this. It's not a thing where I'm saying like I would have done a better job. It's not that. I'm not trying to like backseat design it.
Yeah.
But I can't deny that like it does feel like I've seen the whole scrawled on the walls, audio logs, shit's already destroyed, like lights already all dark and flickering. Yeah. It does feel like I've seen that a lot. You wanted them to
somehow have 40 minutes of the Mass Effect Citadel before the alien shows up.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing. Kind of.
But I don't know how you would do that,
If they had made that work, that would have been insanely amazing.
You do start on like a sort of operational normal ship that is like
with people,
and that's like, so there's a little bit of that, but it's so perfunctory. It's like it's also
the first 5
seems
minutes.
Like the whole all verbs of this game are entirely about surviving an alien.
Yeah, which is totally fine. I just know
Not
that
A, B.
True.
Yes.
I just already know that given how long video games are, and this one is said to go on, like multiple people have observed that this game goes on longer than it needs to.
Yeah.
I just know that I'm not going to need this many hours of things already being tense and fucked up and dire. You know what I mean? Like
that seems to be the prevailing criticism of this game, right? Is that it takes the last hour of Alien and turns it into a 20-hour
game.
I thought it was like 10. It's 20.
20. Yeah.
It doesn't need to be 20 hours.
I know.
It doesn't need to be 10 hours.
I agree with you. I mean, I know I'm going to be very frustrated with this game. Like, I already know. You know, I'm starting to experience
You're going to want to get through it because you're you.
Because I love this world so much. Like, I'm like, you know,
you want to find every little thing they've put into it.
I have been, and I have actually, like, in my stream last night, I spent 3 hours, and really it could have been just 2 hours, but I went to every poster and read them out in my Rhode Island accent
all
as
that stuff is really cool.
You know, but like every detail, every boombox, I came back and I went back in the room because I wanted to hear the rest of what was on the boombox. Like every stupid thing. And Kirk Hamilton, who wrote my favorite review of the game so far, just from what I've experienced, he really enjoyed the game. He really liked it. It was a very positive review. He definitely said there are flaws. But he talked about how he wished there was a mode in this game, maybe once you beat it, or just somehow where you could just
alien mode?
walk around. Yeah, exactly. Just walk around and see the environments, like just purely, you know, to enjoy that part. Because every time you are outside in the open at all, like there's a risk of the alien coming and eating your face, and like it's terrifying and so effective and so awesome. But I definitely agree with that, in that it'd be really cool if I could just enjoy this stuff too.
I know they would never do it, but if it was basically if they went like Doom 3 actually had a no monsters flag you could put that was just then
That's awesome.
Explore Mars and Hell.
Yeah.
I don't know how good the game is when it's like that.
Sure.
But if you just want to dork out and read all the computer terminals, it's that. But if they also supported, because I imagine their lighting system is robust as fuck, given the imagery from this, they would have to go in and do a bunch of work that they don't want to do. But if it had the Gone Home Lights On button, so you could turn off the alien and then also just like turn on like all the
that'd be
overhead
amazing.
fluorescence, it'd be really enjoyable.
That'd be so cool.
I don't know why you would ever do that.
I mean, a dork like me would.
Right, you would do it because then it's
do
like
that for 20 hours.
That Star Trek: The Next Generation CD-ROM that was made. I think it was just the Star Trek Encyclopedia.
I think
there was a Star Trek: The Next Generation CD-ROM that they made apparently right before they struck the sets of the USS Enterprise D, before before clearing out and putting Star Trek Voyager in there. But they just ran through every possible set with a camera, and then also took 360 panoramas of them and put them on a CD-ROM.
Oh my god, yeah.
So you can then just like spin around the bridge and go to all the different stations, but then when you click on any of the doors, it actually like opens and takes you on a walk through the hallway to the engineering deck or whatever.
Oh, so amazing.
But if you want, like, if they already built all this shit, anyway, whatever.
I mean, that would be cool. I mean, it was just a thing that, you know...
It's a way to make you dork out, apparently.
Exactly! So. It would be made of... I mean, I would dork out. A few dorks would be very excited about that.
Well, there is that DLC that is on the Nostromo.
Yes, which apparently...
And you said Word on the Street is...
Word on the Street. Patrick Klubik, who also wrote an awesome review of this game and enjoyed it, a positive review overall. Like 4 out of 5, I think he said. Not that I care much about numbers, but in general it was a positive review. Has said that, the Crew Expendable DLC, which is the first DLC, which is, you know, where they got the cast together from the actual original film and sort of set it on the Nostromo, isn't super awesome.
But
apparently.
Nostromo, no monster lights on mode.
Oh my
awesome.
god! Oh my god! What the things I would do? God,
you would just wander around and look at stuff.
I would wander around and look at stuff. I would do it like every 6 months. I would be like, it's time to watch Alien again, and then also walk around the ship.
Visit Alien.
It would be amazing.
Yeah.
God, it would be amazing. I'm really enjoying the game so far, even though I know it's going to frustrate the hell out of me, and it's going to last 10 hours too long, and everything else. I sort of went in knowing all of this. And what I feel like is, I just feel like Creative Assembly, just from what I've played and what I've read, kind of really went overboard in a lot of great ways. But they also definitely could have used some dialing back in the not great ways. You know, making it 20 hours long is just kind of unacceptable.
I have to ask you guys about this because this is the dorkiest small detail.
Go for it.
It's a meta detail. You guys both played it on PC?
PS4, actually.
Oh, you played it on PS4.
PC,
you played it on PC. Okay. So what I heard from Ollie is that the very opening experience of this game is the Creative Assembly logo comes up, beautiful VHS, 20th Century Fox logo, Sega logo, and then play it on ATI Radeon. Just fucking drops in.
AMD, and it's just like
a full, like just hyper rendered bank video after that. After like the VHS, like CRT.
Yeah, they did a really
logos.
good job of making line art of the Creative Assembly and Sega logos and having them like come in as though they were vector.
They look like the opening of Blade Runner or something with that, like just like old Ridley Scott opening title sequences.
Yeah,
all have that weird analog stuff.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Yeah, the trailers have those too.
They have those two, and then they have, and then it's like AMD meant for Radeon or whatever.
Why would they not just go first?
Yeah. I know.
Because like. Sorry to like this is of course I haven't played the game. I've just heard about this, and it's the part that fascinated me the most. But like imagining the internal conversation about that, where you're the UI designer on that game, who obviously are like UI. I know that all that stuff actually was made in house by their UI team. Their UI graphic design team they didn't outsource any of that stuff, which a lot of studios do. But to have made that, and then hear, oh guys, guess what? Good news. AMD subsidized 3% of our budget, or 1%, or like literally 0.01%, some disgusting number. So we got to just put that logo in. I'm sure it's fine. It's just the logos, right? And then they're like, but can we? Can we put it before our? No, we gotta have ours first. I mean, we're proud of what we did, right? Like, oh no, not anymore. Like,
that was soul crushing.
That's the story that plays out in my brain, because that's what I imagine it would have been had I been in that position.
Totally.
Oh man. That's got to be the worst, because you're like, the PC version, people can run it on a 4K display, and maybe there's an INI file. It's PC games.
Oh man, I bet someone should release a patch that does nothing but just strip out
just improves
the AMD.
The opening flow of the binks.
That'd be incredible.
Yeah.
Also,
no alien mode. Lights on.
Add them all in.
This is another bummer this really bothers me actually in a lot of video games. This is not a criticism of this game specifically. It is so common in games, and I hate it, is when the logo treatment of the game comes up and has a little TM thing on it. When you're in the, like, setting the scene, comes our, like, logos and, like, the name of the game, and, like, you're starting this immersive experience, and it has a little fucking TM.
That's the thing.
I've never seen that in a movie, ever. I've never in my entire life
Game industry marketing illegal people are obsessed with the TM showing up in all forms.
I hate it.
Film and TV brands don't have the trademark.
They never do.
Yeah.
Never.
Occasionally, but it's usually it comes in at the end in the closing credits.
Yeah, that's totally different.
Fine.
I'm talking about like the thing that's part of the whole experience, that's introducing you to what you're about to see.
I've got to just go play this game. I'm sorry that I'm obsessed with this opening flow stuff, but when you press new game, do they have a little other title sequence inside of the game as well, or does it just kind of?
Oh, I can't remember.
Yeah, I think it does.
Because the correct flow. If you were able to hack this in an INI file, is just have the AMD logo come up, whatever,
right, and then move the other ones.
And then when you press new game, then you get that stuff, because that stuff is sick. Because that's what it would be if it was an actual experience that you paid money for and wasn't a video game.
Right. You know the thing that also bums me about this logo shit? In a movie, often... I'm sorry. It has bothered me for years. It really has. Like,
get it all out, Chris.
Let's do it.
So in a film, sometimes on the movie poster, you'll have your, like, really high concept... worked up logo type or whatever, and it's there. But then you go in the theater and you sit down and you watch the movie, and like when the title of the film comes up, it's actually just like in a really understated like piece of typography or something really simple, because the director just decided, like, regardless of what our marketing assets are, like this actual moment in the film should look like this. And no one ever does that in games either. In games, it's always like the fully worked up logo with the TM, and it drives me fucking crazy.
It happens occasionally. But
I guess occasionally.
Like, I think Last of Us does it really nicely, but Last of Us had a film title company do their credit sequence.
The whole way that the beginning of games is treated just feels to me so like uncaring.
Well, it's also
it's not the developer's fault. I'm sure that all this shit is foisted on you by
in a video game. If you especially if it's a narrative single player experience, you have the opportunity to have all of your marketing branding shit in your main menu. Get your stupid hero shot in there, whatever, your key art, your logo. And that's the equivalent of a DVD menu.
Right.
That's true.
But then when you press new game...
Yeah, you want the unbroken...
Get the good one.
Yeah,
the good stuff.
And sometimes that does happen.
Yeah, but not always. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, man, okay. So the first time that I noticed that was a thing in movies was when I saw Honey, I Shrunk the Kids as a kid. That was when I first became aware of marketing branding versus the in-movie one. And it's because for some reason I really liked the logo in the commercial. It was like this gold embossed thing. And then in the movie it was like a really high concept animated sequence for the logo. And I was like, what's that? That's not the logo to this movie.
Oh my God. I'm just picturing baby Jake just being like, like going home and Photoshop
When I get older, I'm going to make sure that nothing like this ever happens.
No way. I think it's good. Obviously.
Now you do, but I'm just saying you're inspired because you're an idiot baby.
Yes. Now I know better. Now I know that I haven't seen the credit sequence to Honey, I Shrunk the Kids in quite a while. I don't know if it's on Art of the Title. It's probably not.
God, that's so good.
So that's my Alien Isolation impressions.
Title impressions.
No,
Like it.
But yeah, you are positive on this game, Danielle.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm in love with this game. And it will. I will.
You will fall out of
I
love.
will hate it. I
think
know
we
I
got
will.
distracted a lot from actually this, but what are if you could just like bullet point maybe some of the things that you actually really like about it?
Well,
Because
I mean,
we went off into the weeds.
Sorry.
Oh no, that's fine. I like
we
the
had
weeds.
an important discussion.
Title weeds.
Yeah.
It's good. I like the weeds. Honestly, the biggest thing I think is that they nailed the tension and they nailed the world.
No, they did
Yeah.
that.
And frankly, I just really, really like games that are like a true horror experience. Like, I actually played Resident Evil, the remake, yesterday, the new HD remake, and I was doing that for a couple of hours.
Resident
and
Evil 1?
Yes, it's
There's a new
remake.
HD remake? Because
Yes.
wasn't there... Well, there was a new
was the
SD remake on the
GameCube.
GameCube one.
This is an HD remake of that SD remake. Yep.
Cool.
And I had a lot of fun with it, and I was enjoying it, and it sort of reminded me of, like, 90s horror games that were actually survival horror, that were hard, and they were, you had a gun, yes, you had a weapon, but, like, you never had a lot of bullets, and it was, more of a true horror experience. It's cheesy as hell, for sure, like, and of course, it's going to continue to be cheesy as hell, and that's most of the charm of it. But this feels to me like a real, true horror game, in the way that, like, it's scary as hell, and you die a lot. And the fact that it's frustrating makes it scary. And the fact that you never want to be outside of the world, even though you really want to be inside the world. Excuse me. I mean, like, you want to be in the world. You want to be walking around. You want to be looking at all the details, things like that.
But you also
never
want to go
want
home.
to. You want to be in the locker where you're safe, even though you're not always safe in the locker. Like, that tension for me is just really intoxicating. Like, I love being in this horrible, oppressive world, but it's also really beautiful and fascinating. And, like, I weirdly, I think I talked about this on an episode of Thumbs before, but I actually had a dream about Alien Isolation where I was in the world and I wanted to look at all the art assets, and the AIs that were controlling the alien were like, no, you can't be out in the open right now. Like, I had this insane, bizarre dream that was very video gamey.
And then it turned out to be real.
And then it turned out to be kind of real, almost. Like, that is the tension that's in the game, for large parts.
You want to look at these beautiful assets, but unfortunately, there's an alien.
Unfortunately, the alien wants to eat you more than you want to look at the art assets, which is, why can't we all be friends and enjoy these things?
So true.
Anyway, I'm really, really, really positive on it. And with the caveats that I know,
even though you know it's a
frustrate
tragedy,
me.
it's a tragic story, actually.
Yes, and I know it's going to go on 10 hours too long. Like, if this were a 6-hour game, like, that would probably be perfect. If it was like a on the shorter end of a AAA game, basically. Yeah. But I can't fault Creative Assembly for being, ridiculous fanboys and fangirls over the best movie of all time. So,
Yeah, but that doesn't have to do with length, right? I mean,
She just means as far as just being indulgent.
It's just being so indulgent.
Just like having the opportunity and then
overboard.
taking too much of the opportunity.
Yeah.
Basically.
No,
exactly.
I get it. That's fair enough. Although, man, if I were making a big AAA game, I would do anything I could to keep it from being 20 hours
Yeah,
long.
I'm sure.
Well, that's not true. If I were making a game like this, which is a, very specific narrative experience, it's totally different than if you're making a
systems-based.
Yeah. I mean, this game is
like
systems-based, but right, something that's
like if you're
more
making a
open
shadow of
exactly
game.
a shadow of game.
A shadow of game.
You can just sort of dig around in that for as long as you want. But something like this, where tension's the whole point, tension kind of loses itself if it goes on too long.
Yeah, it just becomes frustration. Yeah.
But yeah, I am really looking forward to playing it more. Also,
sounds good.
I downloaded Shadow of Mordor.
Yeah.
And I downloaded Alien Isolation.
Mm-hmm.
And then I spent the entire weekend playing Smash Brothers.
Oh, awesome.
Man. Here, do you want to take a break?
Yeah, I do. Right. But I just wanted to get that out because that was my contribution to these two games, is that I downloaded them and played Smash Brothers instead.
Now we're introducing the concept of tension into Idle Thumbs by announcing what Jake played. But then
and you know what I thought about Smash Brothers?
Video game.
Chris.
Jake.
Snacks, you like them?
I love snacks.
Eat them.
Fortunately, this show is brought to you by NatureBox, a delicious monthly snack subscription service that we love. They will send all kinds of delicious treats, savory and sweet, that unintentionally rhymed, right to your home or office. And the best part, if you go to naturebox.com/thumbs, for a mere $2 in shipping, they will send you an otherwise free snack sampler with 4 kind of trial-size snacks, as well as a 5th full-size snack for you to try. I looked these up finally. We never get this because we get the big old full NatureBox because we love this shit. But you will get in the trial sea salt sun crunch, garden tomato crunchies, coconut cashews, cinnamon swirl kettle kernels, and a full additional snack. So go to naturebox.com/thumbs, get your trial.
Eat them.
Video game. What? The Cacodemon stuff.
What about that Cacodemon content?
This episode is also brought to you by Hulu Plus, in fact, an excellent online streaming service that has both full catalog TV show archives as well as currently streaming shows that are on television right now.
Some film content, including some of the Criterion Collection.
Exactly, yes. I am currently enjoying my ridiculous guilty pleasures, which are Shonda Rhimes' ongoing show Scandal, which is just restarted. I'm watching it on Hulu again now, as well as How to Get Away with Murder, her somehow even trashier than Scandal other show about a diabolical black woman. So anyway, I love that shit. Also on Hulu.com, I found out today on Hulu Plus is the full run of Twin Peaks, which is perfect because we are launching a new Twin Peaks Rewatch podcast. Get it at twinpeaksrewatch.com. We'll tell you more about it later, but the whole thing is on Hulu. If you haven't seen Twin Peaks, it's all up there.
It's a fucking good show.
Yes, and if you go to huluplus.com
/thumbs,
you can get a 2-week trial. That's an extra bonus week of trial. Check it out. Video game.
That's the sound of us being back, I guess.
Oh, we're back?
It was a rocket through space from Alien Isolation to Smash Brothers.
It was like a smash attack.
Yeah.
Although that's more like, it's like an anime sound.
Yeah, it's like a...
Is that what it does?
Kind of.
Wow,
Some of the smash attacks.
Some of them. What a smash attack is just like the punch. You're talking about the final smash.
Yeah, final smash.
Is the cool move?
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
I'm mixing my smashes.
You're mixing your smash attack, your final smash.
Wait, what's the special one called then?
The final smash is the move when you get the huge ball that glows.
No, but what's your just normal powerful one?
If you just you have in Smash Brothers you have you have special attacks on one button and standard attacks on the other button, but if you charge up a standard attack in any direction, it can become a smash attack.
Oh, that is what I was thinking of.
Where you wind up a punch, then you punch someone really hard, or you headbutt them really hard.
Right,
or
but that's just like a punch. That's like a...
But it's like a
special
But if
move.
you just press the button in that direction, just whoop, it just goes. But if you hold, you can charge and get a smash punch.
Yeah.
All right.
Whereas, if you're Mario, he'll shoot fireballs on one button and then he'll punch on another button. But if you hold on the punch button, he'll give you a smash attack. Super Smash Brothers. You use the word smash a lot when talking about this game.
It's true.
So you've been playing a lot of what? Which one have you been playing a lot of?
3DS, New Super Smash Brothers.
Okay.
The new one...
Is it called New Super Smash Brothers?
No, it's called Super Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
It's terrible. It's great. It's fine. But the problem with this is they've just made a game called Super Smash Brothers that you can buy on the 3DS. And they've made another game called Super Smash Brothers that you can buy on the Wii U. And they've made another one called Super Smash Brothers that you can buy on the Nintendo 64. So it's really confusing.
Oof.
What if you're going to buy one for your nephew or niece and you accidentally buy the N64 cartridge and you pay a ton of money because it's worth so much on the used game scene? You're like, it must be the new one because it's the most expensive one.
It must be the best one. He must want the best one.
Right. What are extended family members to do when buying gifts for their niece, nephew, or grandchild when they think that the most expensive Super Smash Brothers modifier is...
I feel really bad for those people.
They probably should just...
You've now invented a class of person that doesn't exist for us to be sympathetic towards.
I mean, they're going to go into the nearest still in operation used game store that carries N64 cartridges, and I guess they won't do that because never mind, because that doesn't exist.
No, they'll go in there and they'll be like, do you have Super Smash Brothers? And they'll say, oh, which Super Smash Brothers, and then they'll bring out a catalog that includes estimated retail prices, which are $49.99, $49.99, and $499.99. It's like, oh, it must be that one. And they'll say, I'm sorry, we don't have that. And then they'll let them leave the store without offering to possibly ask if that might
It's
not
such a
be.
sad story.
That's exactly what they do. Man, that's why Game Crazy went out of business.
Because they're staffed only by idiots. They're staffed only by
Like,
oblivious
we're trying to
idiots.
maximize sales, so we should try to push the most expensive games that's only exactly called Super Smash Brothers on whatever platform released in whatever decade, whatever fucking century,
Oh my
Whatever
god.
millennium. for
whatever
that matter.
millenniums that Super Smash Brothers was put out in. The expensive one is the one that we got to sell to that grandpa.
Oh.
Oh, we have none in stock.
Goodbye.
Good day, sir.
Out. Do you think he wanted? No. He only wants the best one, which is not that one either.
This scenario
That poor
suggests
child.
a corporation that is unwilling to sell any copy of Super Smash Brothers except an impossible to obtain N64.
We have to maximize used game sales.
Oh my god.
That's true, because on that $49.99 copy, they only get
They're gonna
what,
make,
like
a few
$8 of
bucks,
that? Like,
but think about how much they're making off that $499 one.
like $496.
All of it.
Right. Some kid brought in his U-Haul box of Smash Brothers, but only those of video games. Anyway, so in conclusion, I've been playing Super Smash Brothers for the Nintendo 3DS. I paid the retail amount. I downloaded it onto the cartridge. Onto the cartridge.
You can
$499.99.
just download it?
Yeah, 3DS and Wii U have full retail games or just day and date in the
Oh, I
downloadable
didn't know
store.
that.
It's like it's 2014.
God, it's been so long since I had a Nintendo console at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, the only reason that I didn't download Zelda is because Zach loaned me the cartridge. But
Cartridge?
It's
For the 3DS.
Oh, right.
yeah,
yes.
for the 3DS.
The cartridge for the Wii U.
Well, I downloaded it to an SD
I thought you were.
card.
I was just in the mind of grandparents, and I was just thinking you were a grandpa referring to
Well,
the
that's
disc
the thing,
as a
though. Which
cartridge.
Super Smash Brothers cartridge would you like? We have two.
Oh my God, that's
one of them
right.
is this super small, dumb, cheap one, and the other one's this huge, expensive one.
Oh my god.
Think of how much more cool game they could fit on this huge cartridge.
This wallet size one. Anyway, I've been playing Super Smash Brothers on the 3DS because.
That was the most worthless discussion. I'm sorry, continue.
Was it, Chris? Was it?
Do you
You've
like
been playing
the game?
3DS Super Smash Brothers.
We've established. I guess we've established.
sort of.
Yeah, because Danielle, you talked about it a little bit because you'd played an early release where you played the demo. I think.
It was actually the full game, but I had it early because of Patricia, so it was fine.
Yeah. This is the first 3DS game that's actually given me like complete, just like temporarily debilitating hand cramps, which is the thing that a lot of people complain about
It
the
hurts
3DS.
after a while.
But it's because I think this game uses every single available face on the controller in a way that a lot of games don't, because it's
Right.
just it isn't.
Including the touchscreen?
The touchscreen's only used for just like for menu stuff. The actual you don't have to take your hands
You
off
don't
the
have to do a
controller.
final smash on the...
No. I mean, it's as close of an adaptation as they could make, which I think you talked about before. Like
Yeah.
it's not impaired in any way. Like there was a fan game called Super Smash Land that someone made that was intending
that's
to be like an imagined version of how Smash Brothers mechanics could port down to an original Game Boy. So like how could you do a Smash Brothers
cool.
game that just has A, B, up, down, left, right? And all the
pretty
characters
cool.
are just like
Yeah.
12 pixels high.
Yeah.
It was actually really
Wow,
cool.
that's
Yeah, it was awesome.
But this game is obviously not intending to do that. It uses the analog stick. It uses A, B, X, Y, L, and R, which is, I guess, all of the keys that you actually have. I guess on a GameCube controller, you have Z, you have the third trigger available to you. But functionally, it controls and moves exactly like Super Smash Brothers, which cramps the fuck out of your hand on a 3DS.
It does.
But and the controls, like it was a reminder that I've only played this thing on a GameCube controller, which does not actually have a diamond face button configuration. It has that crazy 90s design.
Yeah, the
thing.
A button's way bigger
It has
than
the
the B
huge
button.
A button, and then the other ones kind of arc around it in a semicircle.
Yeah.
And Smash Brothers is obviously built for that control scheme, because when you try to play it on a diamond ABXY your thumb has no fucking idea where to go.
Yeah.
The actual control configuration screen in Super Smash Bros. On the 3DS is really nice. So, like, I think everyone has a different mental map of where their thumb actually goes to do those different actions on a GameCube, but you can just drag the controls around to match on the 3DS.
Customizable.
But,
yeah.
I don't know how much I should actually talk about what Smash Brothers is. It's a brawling fighting game made by Nintendo where characters fight each other.
Cool.
Whatever. The thing, and if you've read a lot of reviews of Super Smash Brothers 3DS, this will become apparent, but sort of, and we talked about this a little bit last week as well, but I've now become obsessed with it, which is, in previous Smash Brothers games, the single-player campaign has always been very sidelined. It's almost training, although they get like the guys who write Final Fantasy to write the lore for them. And
it's amazing.
It's so cheesy. It's but Smash Brothers on the 3DS is way more focused around playing short bursts of different types of games, and like it's kind of buried up in the top corner of the main menu, but it's obviously the heart of what the game is, and it's the challenges screen, which just starts off as an empty grid, and then of just nothingness. And if you sort of dick around with the different minigame modes, eventually you will complete one of those. Like that empty grid is actually locked off challenges that are kind of tutorially, kind of arbitrary. Sometimes they're just really fucking hard, but it'll just be like, play a game as a character. But once you complete one of those, that challenge unlocks as complete, and then the definitions of the adjacent challenges show up. So then your objective effectively is to clear the entire challenge board. And it made my weekend start disappearing because it was the first time that I've actually enjoyed playing Super Smash Bros. By myself.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Because it's all like, play this mode, score XYZ in this, complete this. Like it has the classic single player campaign where you go through a story, or there's a world map that has some branching paths, and it chooses sort of who you fight, and
like
at the end you
Mortal
fight a
Kombat
boss
or something. Yeah, exactly.
And then it also has a like sort of Smash Brothers like history mode where you fight clusters of characters by year.
Yeah.
Which is also really hilarious.
Whoa.
Where it's like these guys were introduced in 1989.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
So like, you know, early on it's a lot of the early Nintendo characters and Pac-Man, and then over time it turns into more and more anime dudes.
Yeah.
Is this the first one Pac-Man has been in?
Yes.
How's Pac-Man?
Okay, this is the part where I have to admit that I have not played enough of this to actually know if it's a good Smash Brothers game or not.
Right.
Like relative to other ones, like
Sure, yeah.
I'm just going to say it's probably not if you're into playing Smash Brothers for the sake of playing against friends competitively, because like the 3DS controller is just not ever going to let you play at the performance level that you can and comfort. So I don't really know. I've almost entirely been playing as Luigi.
Surprise.
And Pac-Man.
Luigi and Pac-Man.
All right, cool. So you can answer my question.
I've unlocked Wario recently, so I've been playing as him because his powers are mostly different ways of farting on people and eating things and riding a motorcycle.
Excellent.
Good, all good.
No, Pac-Man, I was really wary of Pac-Man showing up in Super Smash Brothers. I was actually like enraged.
You're a Pac skeptic.
Why?
Because people were like, Pac-Man showing up, and I was like, Pac-Man better not have fucking legs and stuff. Of course he has legs and hands. He's a stupid mascot character. But it's like, it actually looks really good. The way that he's integrated aesthetically is actually very, very clean.
That's cool.
And then, but it feels like they didn't quite know what to do with Pac-Man move-wise. As far as like, he doesn't have any fucking moves. He's Pac-Man. He just eats a thing.
He's a face.
Right.
So, but it feels like he's a character who...
But they can't just Kirby him.
Right. No, but because they got to sort of come up with his moveset, and because he's like the 4,000th character that's been built for Smash Brothers, it feels like he's a reasonably considered character.
So like, what does he do? What does Pac-Man do?
I mean, he just does a lot of really aesthetically... And, okay, someone who knows a ton about Smash Brothers is probably listening to this and being like, Pac-Man's fucking nerfed, or like Pac-Man's Pac-Man's overpowered, whatever. I don't really know. Right. I haven't played enough to know where he stands on like the character power level, like winning odds thing. But I mean, he basically either like one of his moves is to spawn a sprite which sort of rotates between a cherry, strawberry, whatever, which he can throw at someone, or his like forward attack is to just cast a trail of pellets in front of him and then leap through them, eating them, and then also eating, like, chomping on anyone in his way.
It's pretty great.
And his up attack is also very similar, where he just chomps up. But when he does those, the way that it's animated, his legs basically disappear and he sort of turns into classic form.
Yeah.
So, like, but
cool.
it's handled, since it's a fighting game and it's such a, like, per frame specific animation, like the transition's handled really cleanly.
Right, yeah.
Also,
It's not just shitty blends, yeah.
Yeah, like, it looks and feels pretty good, where, like, when he does straight up, down, left, right movements, they actually, like, he sort of reduces down into retro form and does classic Pac-Man stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think his down special attack is to drop a fire hydrant on the ground, which I don't know what Pac-Man thing that's from, actually.
I don't either.
But then it would impact someone that's there, but also once it's on the ground, like half a second later, it spurts water in both directions, which doesn't knock people's health, but it pushes them back. And then, predictably and really, really deliciously, his final smash move is to grow to be 3 times the size of his normal size, turn into Retro Pac-Man, and then he can just has free reign over the board, but he can only move up, down, left, right, like he controls like Pac-Man.
Yeah.
So everyone else
really
has
good.
total fluid of movement, and you're just trying to Pac-Man them to eat them. And like
good.
It's fucking Pac-Man in Super Smash Brothers. It's what you'd expect. I didn't
That's
really.
not. I mean, I don't know. You still have to do that stuff well.
Yeah, it's. And again, like, as a fighter on a competitive plane, I don't really know how it would work, but like, he's fun to control. Like, all of his moves, the way they work in a tactile way, feels better to me than even some of the earlier, not quite as enjoyable to me characters. But also, Mega Man is in this for the first time, and I didn't play as Mega Man yet. But
he may have been in the Wii one. I could be wrong.
Was he?
He may have been. I'm trying to remember. I played the GameCube one the most, for sure.
I don't think he was. I think Sonic was the big ad in Brawl.
Okay.
And then I think Mega Man was the initial, like, big ad in this one.
All right.
So it was announced ages ago.
That's how long it's been.
Because they were like, Mega Man, and everyone went, oh shit, Mega Man. And then they said, Wii Fitness Trainer, and everyone went, what? Wii Fitness Trainer?
Which is actually kind of a great character.
I love that they put the Wii Fitness.
Oh, yeah, so good.
Yeah, it's really awesome.
The Wii Fitness Trainer's in it. And then the final last minute thing was like, oh, also Pac-Man's in it, motherfucker.
Oh,
so like, that was like...
Oh my god, yeah, I guess I'm mixing up my smashes.
Yeah. Mega Man was new to Super Smash Bros. 4, which is this one.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it was so...
Makes sense.
As we know in our chronology, it was Super Smash Brothers.
Yes.
Then
Super Smash Brothers Melee,
and then Brawl, and then Super Smash Brothers and Super Smash Brothers.
Yes, which
Wait,
doesn't have a
what
release
you're telling
date
me
yet.
is that half of all Super Smash Brothers games have been called Super Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
In fact, more than half.
More than half, yeah.
3 out of 5.
Yes. 3 out of 5 Super Smash Brothers agree.
60% of Super Smash Brothers games have been titled Super Smash
60% of this
Brothers.
decade-spanning series across 4 pieces of
More than a
hardware.
decade, like 15 years, right?
Yeah,
When did Smash Brothers
99,
come out?
I'm pretty sure.
It's 99. So happy 15th anniversary of Super Smash Brothers. We're celebrating it with the release of Super Smash Brothers and Super Smash Brothers.
I'm really, really interested. Okay, so I have a couple of really quick notes to say. First of all, my girlfriend has been playing this obsessively. She's put like 45 hours
into
so
what?
far.
Single player?
Well, both actually. She's
like, can
putting,
you just play it randomly online and stuff?
Yes.
You can,
Okay,
yeah.
okay,
you can
cool.
use your friend codes and whatever else.
I always just assume nothing works in
that Nintendo doesn't know what online is.
I'm sure that's an outdated, ridiculous
No,
opinion.
it apparently does have some latency and connectivity issues.
It does.
Whatever, but what I want is to have friends who have 3DSs just to play it on a LAN.
Yeah,
that's,
Right,
sure.
that's what it's for.
That's what a DS game is really good for a bunch of idiots
well,
on
it's
couches.
also just what
It'd be
Smash
fun.
Brothers is good for.
Yes,
Yeah.
but
It's what Super Smash Brothers, and Super Smash Brothers are good for.
Also Melee and Brawl. Yes.
and Super Smash Brothers is Melee and Brawl.
Right.
The Brothers is Melee.
Yes.
She has actually, partially destroyed her circle pad from playing it so much.
Wow,
Which
okay.
is a thing.
no.
Which is a thing that was like, we sort of got
Others have
reports out
commented
of
on this,
Japan.
yeah.
But it actually happened to her 3DS, which is a little bit sad. And also, someone has actually created a way of using a GameCube controller with their 3DS.
I saw this.
Which is
How does that
amazing.
work?
They just spliced
modded
the
it, yeah.
wires into like connectors that they fucking soldered into, or what? Probably not soldered, but attached to some kind of input. I don't know how they did it.
I know, yeah. It's mystery science that I don't understand.
Yeah.
But they made it work.
That's a bold choice, given that Super Smash Brothers, with this fighter set and level set, is also coming out on Wii U in November.
That's not why people do
Hopefully
things
soon,
like this.
but I feel like
But
it
it
doesn't.
supports the GameCube controller natively.
I know, but that's not why people do
I
things
know.
like this.
This person is clearly a lord. It's fine. But
A Lord of Smash. I feel like there is a weird also thing you know, since the Wii U is not doing terribly well still, obviously, the 3DS version was treated as sort of like the main version of this game, which is really interesting. Like the portable version of the party game is treated
not just the party game, the competitive multiplayer fighting game.
Exactly, like the extremely high fidelity.
They also know that the party aspect of it is probably more likely to be alive in like 3DS owners, but they're not doing anything for the competitive scene with Smash 3DS. Whereas the Wii U version, they built a hardware adapter so you can plug your GameCube controller into it. So like they're going totally
they're going for it.
They want the competitive scene to buy
a Wii U and buy this game.
And then plug all their... I mean, I have 4 Wavebirds sitting in this room that I'm waiting to fucking slam into the Wii U when Smash Brothers comes out.
Yeah.
That'll be entertaining. I'm looking at them right now.
They're all matching silver as well.
Well, I'm looking at a couple of them.
Yes.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
Anyway, Smash is really fun.
We talk about a million stupid things, but the actual it was nice to see so much focus and attention put into just making it be playable as a 3DS game and not just as Smash Brothers. Like the variety, it feels like they brought in every possible single player thing that had existed in the games and then put a bunch of new ones in. Oh, the one mode that I feel like we talked about a little bit last week again, but it's the thing that I've been playing the most is, oh fuck, I can't remember what it's called.
What is it? There's
a single player mode that just gives you basically the world's largest Super Smash Brothers level. It's structured to feel, it feels almost like a Metroid map.
Yeah, oh my god.
Where it's just like tons of platforms inside of these caverns that have huge drops that you can fall down. It's like there's no death areas that you can really fall into. But you can sort of wander up to an overworld, which then can launch you up into the clouds. You can wander down into these various pits, and it's all sort of different themes.
So here are the single-player modes. Is it one of these? Classic mode, All-Star mode, Home Run Contest, Trophy Rush, Target Blast, Multi-Man mode, Training mode. Is it any of these modes?
No, it's none of those modes.
Oh.
Those are all like...
It's in the single-player,
those are sort of sub-games. Is
it Smash Run?
I believe it might be Smash Run. But yeah, so the way that this works is you just have, I think it's like 60 seconds or a couple minutes.
Oh, this is a multiplayer thing potentially also.
Oh, okay. It's actually, you're right, because you play against CPUs, which means you could probably play it in multiplayer as well. I just haven't, because I don't have any friends with 3DSs. Right. But you're just fighting enemies of various levels of strength. It feels very much like you're inside of a Metroid map, but it has Super Smash Bros. Mechanics. But then when you kill them, various just power-ups and buffs pop out of them. So you sort of like just an array of like speed boost, attack boost, dodge boost come out of these guys. And you have X number of minutes to just go explore this world, find high-level enemies and kill them, or sort of scattershot a bunch of low-level guys. And then at the end of that time limit, it shows your success rate at leveling up your guy relative to the other 3 characters, and then says, okay, now fight, Super Smash Brothers, go. But it's just like how well you did inside of that platforming challenge determines how much plussed up your character is. It's not, the final challenge is also not always a fight. One of the times that I was playing, it just said race, go. And I was like, race?
Here we go.
Okay, I did okay on speed, but like that single player sort of, or that feeling of being inside of a single player game with that giant contiguous level with Smash Brothers mechanics, I actually found way more fun than I thought that I was going to find it. Because like I think it was on Brawl, there's a single player campaign that has a bunch of maps, like you play a Mario Brothers level, but you have Smash Brothers moves. And it just
there are a lot of different final challenges. There's 300% Smash, which is free for all, but all players respawn with 300% damage. There's Climb, where you climb up on a vertical thing. Easy Launch, where launch resistance is reduced, but it's a free for all. Explosive Smash, another free for all with only explosive items.
Yeah.
Flower Smash, another free for all where
there's a mushroom one.
Flowers, the flower condition.
I pretty much just got normal fights, but yeah.
So most of these are just free for all variants, but then there's also multi-man Smash, which is on Battlefield, where each player must defeat as many opponents as possible. I'm trying to find the ones that are not just free for alls, because there's also
it is the race stuff and climb.
Yeah, there's race and climb and versus enemy team.
Yeah, there's team battle.
Yeah. Do those just randomly choose?
Either it shows it in the UI and I didn't notice it, or it just says final round is mushroom smash or whatever.
It felt random.
Mr. Saturn Smash The only the Mr. Saturn spawns.
Oh man, that's good.
Mr. Saturn.
Yeah. Anyway, it's like it feels like the attitude that goes into something like a Mario Party was applied to Smash Brothers in a way that's not unappealing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't know how much of that stuff is going to be on the Wii U version. Maybe they're just going crazy and they already
This mode it said was 3DS exclusive.
Okay, it feels like a mode that would be just on a 3DS. Like it feels like
because each player needs their own screen, right?
Yep. And like again, if everyone has their own screen in this, it feels like a mode that's built for even if you like in this room, if there's this room with a couple couches and a bunch of friends, you all get to focus on your own personal endeavor for a few minutes, and then at the end of that it says, okay, how did everyone do?
Right.
And it shows all the stats for everyone on your screen, and everyone gets to see everyone else's stats, so you get the sort of like, oh fuck, I totally I thought I was doing well, but holy shit. And then you have the immediate anticipation or dread of how you're going to kick everyone's butt or get your butt kicked.
Yes.
But then since it's Smash Brothers, there can still be
there's always a chance.
There's always a chance of a weird turnaround or of someone just totally fucking beefing it. But I don't know. It's
absolutely.
It's well done. Although my final opinion of it is I just want the Wii U version now. Like just getting that taste.
I know what you mean.
On 3DS, I was like, this is great, Smash Brothers. Fuck, I cannot wait to play the 1080p version of this on a TV with GameCube
Does the Wii U
controllers.
output in 1080p?
Yeah, I imagine it does.
I think it does.
Huh.
It's Nintendo's first HD console.
Or 720p, whatever it is. The Wii U generally
is an HD console.
It looks really nice.
Well, that's an HD console, but hasn't there been controversy all the time about whether these systems are like
actually
fully 1080?
Yeah.
I believe that its hardware can output 1080p. I don't know if the games itself.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That said,
Nintendo would be the company that would somehow just make that
they're just like also
for their own games, but not
nobody else's.
Where like, man, that stuff like where every first party GameCube game and Wii game, I think, output progressive scan.
Yeah.
And also they secretly just had HD assets anyways.
Yeah, I know. Those games looked so amazing when you played them on PC. When you played them on a PC emulator, they looked so incredible. The assets were so high quality.
Yeah, like when they put out that, we talked about this, but when they put out
Pikmin?
Zelda GameCube.
Oh.
Wind Waker.
Wind Waker, Jesus.
That's okay.
When they put out Wind Waker HD, I looked at it and was like, this looks worse. I don't know. When you play it on an emulator, it has the complete perfect crispness of the art in the GameCube version without any of the bloom and extra gradients.
They went way overboard.
But it's just like, but it's crisp as fuck. Like Link can just walk right up to the screen and his eyes still have the total clarity because they decided to make those textures
that game is so
bigger than you could even render on GameCube hardware. Yeah. It's really strange.
Yeah.
I know. It looks so good though.
Game is...
But I mean, Wind Waker HD itself also looks really nice.
It is gorgeous.
Yeah, no, I know.
But man, that emulator.
That emulator.
But yeah, just the 3DS one, it's fun to play Super Smash Bros. By myself. I don't know how much I'd even play it online if I had a bunch of friend codes in there, because I'm actually enjoying being able to have Smash Bros. Work
as
like a solitary experience. The way that like
it's so hard to make that work in games that are not fundamentally designed from the very the Uber Entertainment guys who made Planetary Annihilation and other games like Monday Night Combat and stuff launched a new Kickstarter this week for a game called
Human Resources.
Human Resources, which is like the video's awesome. Really cool. You should watch it. I'm bringing up such a weird specific thing, but if you look at the comments on the Kickstarter for it, a lot of people are like, "Oh man, I would totally back for more money if you were going to put in like a whole single player thing." And I saw someone make the comment of like, "You should just put in single player. That's so much easier because you don't need to pay for servers." And it's like, and I'm thinking about this, and I'm like, "Oh my god! If I were making a real-time strategy game and I had to I had to be like, let's make an entire robust real-time strategy game, and then on top of that, make a good single-player campaign."
Yeah.
God, it's so hard. Like, almost no one has still done it well. It's crazy too because I think about that, and I'm like, I would at this point probably only play a new RTS in single player. Like, I'm kind of past the point in my life where I'm gonna get back into that like hardcore online scene, and but it's so hard.
Also, it's a game with the theme that Human Resources has, where it's like Cthulhu, old Elder Gods versus Skynet robots. Ripping apart buildings and harvesting humans. It feels like a game that has such a strong thematic content.
Like 1v1.
No, the aesthetics of it and just the presentation of that entire thing feels like it would have a campaign attached to it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Sure, yeah.
Like, it feels
That's
like the
fair,
sort of game that you would experience just for the creative and thematic content
Oh, yeah,
of it,
yeah.
as opposed to be, like, there's no need for any of that stuff in a multiplayer game. This could just be red box versus blue box asymmetric multiplayer.
Well,
People
yeah,
don't
but
play
that's not-
games like
yeah,
that, but,
yeah.
like, you put all that work into that stuff and then not actually rolling through it as a series of missions. But at the same time, I'm sure that's just not
Really,
why
really
would-
hard. Yeah.
Why would you do that when procedurally generated terrain
and maybe
and blah,
like
blah, blah,
for all
like,
I know, they have plans to do things. I don't know. Like I haven't read up in this. So this is less specifically
a
about
stretch goal,
human
stretch
resources
goal.
and more because it's just like such a crazy reminder to me of how different that stuff feels when you're just looking at it from the outside versus when you're responsible for making it and you're just like,
Yep.
oh my God.
Yep.
I don't know enough about their specific plans for this game.
But yeah, and like I could be a weird outlier on this again. Like I haven't read a lot of reviews of Smash Bros. 3DS. For all I know, people fucking hate playing it single player, and I'm just a weirdo.
No, I'm pretty sure.
It definitely feels like they funneled a ton of time into this, and it's there's enough modes that some of them aren't as compelling as others, but just like it's impressive to see. Yeah,
I don't think you're an outlier. I think a lot of people are like that. I mean,
a lot
I
of people
think
are enjoying that.
it's really.
I mean, just in the case of this Super Smash Brothers game itself.
Oh,
like,
sure.
Like maybe the consensus is that it's garbage, and I'm like, I love it. I'm an idiot, but
It doesn't matter if the consensus is that it's garbage because at the end of the day, most people just want to sit down and play the thing and not stress themselves. I mean, obviously, lots of people like playing games online, but I would venture to say that in like the years that I spent as a journalist and then also like now as a developer and just sort of perceiving the way people seem to interact with games, I think it is overwhelmingly more common that most people, when they just like get a game, especially if they're not playing it in a same screen, like friends at your house scenario, with very few exceptions, which would include things like Halo and Call of Duty and stuff, most people just like want to play it alone.
Yeah.
I strongly think that. Like, it's different if it's like a World of Warcraft or something, and that's so non-stressful. That's not a versus, but most people don't play World of Warcraft versus for that matter. That's a smaller.
I didn't even look to see if this thing has drop-in multiplayer, like Mario Kart. Even on one of the whatever DS had Wi-Fi. Was that the original DS or was it the DSi?
I think the DSi.
Fuck, I can't remember. I feel like there was whatever.
I thought DS had Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I think it did.
Because we played Mario Kart.
It just
on
didn't have like online store.
Because I never had a
stuff.
DSi.
Okay.
Yeah, but like I think even that Mario Kart just had drop in with randoms multiplayer, where it's like if you want to play the game against opponents that are not AI.
Yeah, it did. I played that game
Just
online.
do it, like sort of Little Big Planet style. And I'm sure that Smash has that, and I just haven't even tried it. Why have I not done that? Why have I not just gone and just played it? Because I don't want to deal with matchmaking. I don't want to deal with any of that crap.
Yeah.
But playing against like reasonably weighted to me opponents would be enjoyable.
What do you mean you don't want to play with matchmaking, but you do want to play with reasonably weighted opponents?
Being able to press.
That's what matchmaking is.
You mean friend codes?
Yeah, I don't want. I don't want.
that.
Sorry, I don't want to like have to matchmake against my friends list and stuff.
Oh,
right. Yeah, just being able to press a button and have it go. Loop. Fine. Here's 4 other people who are waiting who probably suck as bad as
so you do want matchmaking.
I do want matchmaking. Yes, I think of matchmaking as like
the process of making
as
matches
3 of my friends
as
sit
yourself.
down on the stupid couch interface, and then it finds people to play us against.
Oh, I see. Party matchmaking.
Yeah, I always you're right. Yes, I just want to be. I want drop-in matchmaking, and I'm sure it has that. And I just haven't used it. Anyway, I'm rambling emphatically about.
You guys want to do some reader mail?
Yeah.
God, I keep forgetting to talk about Defense Grid 2.
I keep forgetting to talk about Ethan Carter. Oh, God, we've been bad about the games that we've played and that we're recapping. So we played
Super Smash Brothers.
Super Smash Bros.
This week on Idle Thumbs, Alien Isolation,
Shadow of Mordor,
Middle Earth, Shadow of Mordor, Team Fortress 2, Shadow of the Machines, No One Lives Forever, Shadow of H.A.R.M, Super Smash Brothers, Super Smash Brothers, Super Smash Brothers, Human Resources.
Good, thanks. Okay.
Excellent.
Thanks, Jake.
Uh-huh.
I appreciated that.
Good.
Let's see here. Oh, here's a funny question that isn't about video games, but I like it. Daniel Hansen writes, Idle Fists. Hey, Thumbs, I moved to a new city recently, and I'm not quite ready to get back to running in the dark every morning. Too scary. Instead, I've been considering boxing for my primary workout.
Yes!
It's something I've been interested in for a long time, but never gave myself the chance to try it. I was wondering if Danielle could impart any tips in terms of priorities when learning, things to avoid, and what kind of gyms and venues in which to practice. Thanks for the show and the idle vice, Daniel. P.S. Since I'm not talking about video games, I'd like to say that after last week's touching reader mail, I feel the need to say I found Sean to be pretty hot way before it was cool. So yeah, I would like to take the time to point out that he's talking about the Idle Vice T-shirt available at store.idlethumbs.net. Although I guess at this point
only currently in women's sizes,
only a couple women's sizes left. But also there is the Wizard shirt available in all sizes for men and women, or most of all sizes for men and women at store.idlethumbs.net.
Excellent.
That is a deep blue with green logo in the style of the film The Wizard. But it says
I really like that shirt.
Yeah,
I have
too.
one of those.
Anyway, Danielle.
You could box in it too. Oh my God. How exciting.
What?
All right.
Synergy.
Yeah, synergy. Okay, so my advice to you would be first and foremost to go to a place where people take safety seriously. You can get really, really, really horribly beaten up boxing, even just sparring with other people, especially if they have students spar really early on, or if they have like beat up headgear, or if nobody's really paying attention when other people are sparring. Just things to look out for would be to like be in that environment, check out a class, maybe participate in a class, or just watch a class. Some places will let you do that, and just really pay attention to the sort of safety stuff. That is like really number one. You probably don't want brain damage. Which you can definitely get from getting punched in the face, especially if somebody's like way bigger or way stronger than you and you don't know what you're doing yet. You just don't want to be in that situation. So that's number one. Number two would be if you've ever played sports before, or if you just generally have a certain kind of learning style, just try to find a coach who kind of works for you. Like there are two coaches primarily at my place, and one is a little bit more about, you know, really, really perfect form and really sort of perfecting every little motion that you make. And one is a little bit more about the intuitive process of being in a ring and kind of knowing where to go and knowing how to move. And, you know, those are two just totally radically different approaches, and I like both of them. But your brain might really kind of, you know, focus on one or the other kind of approach, or an entirely different kind of approach. So that's something I would also look out for in a coach. And the third thing would be to get in shape a little bit, or at least try to do some, you know, push-ups, you know, have some cardio, do things like that before you're even boxing, just to get sort of ready for it. Because even a normal 60-minute sort of boxing training workout is really, really intense. Like even as somebody who runs like half marathons all the time, like it was, I even was like, yeah, that was good. I now want to sleep for 20 hours, like after my first class. So
sure.
Even like little things that you can do just in your apartment or in your house, like just be able to do 20 push-ups, be able to do 100 crunches, you know, be able to, you know, you can get yourself there in a couple of weeks, you know, depending on sort of what shape you're in. And the boxing will take you all the way, you know, that you need to be, but just have some upper body strength, have some ability to kind of work on your core.
Cool.
That's my advice.
That was an incredibly well considered answer. Thank you. Alan Mulhall writes, Blade Watch. Hey, Thumbs. Just thought I'd let you know that the Xbox blades live on in the UI afterlife, the cloud.
Blades.
Microsoft recently released a new preview dashboard for their Azure cloud platform. The new dashboard uses nested sliding tiles that can collapse horizontally and are referred to as blades.
Oh.
Looking forward to 2015, Year of the Blade. Cheers, Alan. And then he includes a screenshot of blades.
That's excellent.
Huh.
Real
Microsoft,
blades never die.
The legacy of Allard lives on.
In the cloud.
In the Azure cloud
He's gone
platform.
to a better place now.
Azure cloud.
Cloud.
My butt.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Have we ever talked about cloud to butt? There's a great Chrome plugin by Stephen Frank of Panic Software called Cloud to Butt. And I have had this on all of my computers for years. What it does is it finds instances of the phrase the cloud, not just cloud, but specifically the cloud, and replaces it with the phrase my butt, which makes tech articles and promotional websites for tech companies really, really good. In fact,
it improves them immensely.
There was a time when I was at Double Fine when I was posting a backer update about Broken Age, and there's a part of that game called Cloud Colony, and I've just copied and pasted a thing about
It was called the Cloud Colony.
No, it was just called Cloud Colony.
Sure.
But like there was the reason I didn't notice this is because at one point in this like page-long thing about Cloud Colony, it was referred to as the Cloud Colony. And so it just showed up everywhere that I published this as like in my butt colony. and it was there for like an entire day before I realized, but like people
on the forums
were like, what? My butt colony? Is this is this supposed to be like a joke of some kind? I think I'm missing the joke part. And I remember I had to submit it like 3 times because I kept thinking I had the plugin off and then I didn't. And it was just a catastrophe.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh, so also it's worth mentioning that Stephen Frank, in addition to making Cloud to Butt, makes the other best plugin that's available, which is called Shut Up.
Oh yeah, Shut Up is really good.
And Shut Up, I mean, it started off as just a CSS file that you can sideload, but now there's a plugin for Google Chrome, and it's an elaborately maintained list of the markup surrounding comments sections on big websites. And if Shut Up is turned on, they just don't show up.
Oh, that's lovely.
But the Chrome plugin is actually really well done.
Yeah, it's really good.
Because there's just a little talk bubble next to the URL bar, and it remembers which sites you've enabled or disabled Shut Up. So obviously, just turn it off on YouTube, and your life is great. Because
totally.
YouTube just looks like a different web page. Yeah. But basically, any place that you don't wish to see comments, you can not see them, which has its own ups and downs as a choice as a human. One note though, as we discovered, if you use Pivotal Tracker, the team tracking software, and you have Shut Up turned on, it just hides some of your work responsibilities
in a very subtle way, because it'll just delete like 1 out of 30 of them.
Yeah.
So someone will refer to this like task that you're supposed to have done, and you're like, I don't think that's real. I don't have that task.
I was filtering out 10% of my work by having this plugin turned on. But so yeah, maker of great plugins, Stephen Frank.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. It was a plug for a great plugin.
A plug-in plug. We are plug-in.
Yes.
Huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
I liked it.
Chris wasn't paying attention, so
that's all right.
No, I don't care what you say.
I still liked it.
Robert Pren writes, Ian Fish. So this is a really specific response to something we talked about recently. Ian Fish was the guy who, it took me a second to remember who this was. This was the guy who wrote the blog post about how their card game, which was called what? That you played that and liked? What was the card?
Guts to Glory?
Yeah. How that game is not the shitty one, which is...
No. This is not Guts to Glory.
Oh, no, this is something else?
This is Road Revenge?
Road Redemption.
Okay. And how it is not...
Yeah. Sorry. You thought I said
really
card game. I said card game. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said card game.
Nope. I should have said card
Road Redemption
combat.
Is not Road blah blah blah.
Yeah, Road Redemption is not the bad one.
Right.
Whatever the bad one was.
The Road to Glory, Road to Hell. That's what it was. It was Road to Hell.
So anyway, he says, Dear Thumbs, I've met Ian Fish in person at a gaming event here in New Orleans. Dark Seas Games is located here. I can confirm he is just as nice in real life as he sounds in that blog post. I think your reading of his tone is probably right based on the short conversations I've had with him. Sympathetic towards other developers trying to make the best game he can. I can confirm he is not Phil Fish, unless Phil Fish is a master of disguise, or perhaps a single consciousness occupying multiple bodies. This is totally
feasible. Could be a thing.
Thanks, Robert Pren.
Nice.
P.S. Can you guys confirm or deny that you will be adding the Nemesis system to Firewatch? Can I intimidate the most popular teenager down by the lake and have them tell the others to knock it off with the fireworks? Problem solved. Probably.
Guts to Glory.
I was thinking of the other.
Guts to Glory. Road to Glory. Road to Hell. Road Redemption.
Yeah, there's a.
All made by Phil Fish.
What is Road to Glory?
That was Danielle misspeaking.
That was me totally getting it wrong. God, Road to Hell Retribution. That was the name of that game. And it was horrible garbage. And like I said last week, Kara Ellison made an amazing review. She wrote an amazing review at Rock, Paper, Shotgun.
Michael Sunoka writes, Game Plates. Hi, Thumbs. While walking to work this morning, I was listening to the podcast where you talked about Counter-Strike. I played way too many hours of CS 1.6 in high school about 10 years ago and hardly any ever since. I found Sean's description of his experience to be really inspiring, and I was connecting to and hanging on to every word he was saying. As I was reminiscing along to his thoughts, I saw a license plate on a car go by that, I swear to you, said Leet Noob. This is L337N00B.
How does that? What state is he in that has 8-character license plates?
He's in Ontario, Toronto, Ontario.
Oh,
so
I guess Canada.
Not a few minutes later, I saw another license plate that said Valve.
Oh my god.
It was as surreal and bizarre as if what was playing out of my brain was being manifested in the real world. Anyway, keep up the good work. I really look forward to listening to you all every week. Michael, Toronto, Ontario.
That's wonderful.
I really like the idea that this guy would start reminiscing about his high school years playing CS 1.6 and then a car would just roll. What I'm hoping is that the car slowly rolled by as the guy in the driver's seat like stared him down the entire way.
He did the Luigi death stare,
and then
the whole
another
time.
car like comes by with the license plate saying "Learn to play," like just everywhere he looks. Deagle 42.
Right. Yeah.
He's in Inception. That's what's happening.
Just AWP hacks.
Right.
Yeah. All of those people are wearing like huge gloves with wires coming out of them, or are driving somehow while wearing Oculus Rifts. Actually, that's not true.
Is that a thing? Is that an actual thing somebody has driven using an Oculus Rift in a real car?
That is not allowed.
I feel like...
I imagine these people actually, they wouldn't have Oculus Rifts and gloves, but they would have just like really black jackets and have like a few too many belts or like too many buckles on their clothes, and like one side of their head is shaved.
Oh, it's so
And then
Neo
just
from the Matrix. Yeah.
As they drive by, like some sort of just bad laugh. Yeah.
God, that's so good.
That seems fine.
That's lovely. I love
One
when
license
real life
plate
does
saying
weird things.
1.6 rules.
Ah,
And
with a Z.
That guy will tell you all the reasons why Counter-Strike Source is inferior. Oh, man. He'll laugh at you.
I definitely walked by a license plate the other day that said "FARTASS." That was definitely
How is that allowed?
definitely a thing. It was going right into, on like Hoff Street, the garage on Hoff Street. Yeah, it was "FARTASS." It was definitely "FARTASS." I don't know how it's allowed, but somebody thought that was hilarious and wanted it on their car. I don't even remember what the car looked like. I just clearly saw that. I should have taken a picture. Pixar didn't happen.
Did they have a little heart?
It was
with a
one word.
handprint
It was
in there?
one word. FARTASS. What if that's their last name and it's like FARTASS? That's their name and
That's
FARTASS. Just like Shatid could be spelled shithead.
Of the Connecticut Fartasses.
Yes, the Connecticut, the old money
Anyway,
Connecticut
we have an email here
Fartasses.
from Patrick Rypol.
We were waiting for you, Chris. We were just filling time. We're just
We
filling the
wanted
air with
dead air.
fartass.
Yeah, it was a lot of fartass.
Who writes, "Hey Thumbs, I was wondering if you talk a little bit about Worms Armageddon. I've been playing a lot with my partner recently, and it feels like it was onto a lot of things that are big in indie games now. Simple physics-driven mechanics, procedurally generated terrain, local multiplayer, the potential for chaos spiraling out of control because, oh fuck, that sheep just went in the wrong direction. It seems like the sort of thing that should have sparked an entire evolutionary arm of games, but I can't name many games that have picked up the torch.
Oh, I can.
Do you know
5,000 other Worms games that Team 17 has made after Worms?
Do you know if professional level Worms Armageddon play exists? I'm sure seeing what top tier players could do with Ninja Rope would be fascinating. At the very least, I'd love to see you stream it someday." Patrick Rypol. I read this because, Jake, you are a notorious
I played
Worms
so
obsessive.
much Worms Armageddon, and it was way after. It was at least after I think Worms World Party came out, which was the first other one that was not Worms Armageddon, and it was the one the first on the road to like 2 million bad Worms games. I think there's a new game called Worms Armageddon.
Yeah, there is.
They did this put a million of these out now, and I don't understand. Yeah, still. Like they were putting, I mean, maybe not on the Xbox One, but the Xbox 360 alone, I think, had 2 different Worms games on it, which is like, whoa.
That's a lot of Worms.
This is not what he's asking about, but like if you are Team 17 and you make Worms the game, why would you ever split your audience across 15 different games?
They purely exist from an era where that's all you could do. Whereas we're now in an era where you should just have the fucking Worms, the game,
Worms, the platform,
and build a big ass audience that is like
right. But like they've had like a generation and a half in that era. Like after
Or they're still doing this.
Like
yeah,
Team Fortress exists, StarCraft 2 exists,
Yeah.
Worms 17 through 38 exist.
Yep.
But
Worms Battlegrounds is the newest one.
Yeah. I was never great at Worms Armageddon, but I got reasonably competent, at least in not.
I used to love Worms.
Man.
I played Worms, I think, before. But I was kind of done with Worms before you got into your huge thing. And I played with you occasionally.
I played Worms 1 and 2 like on LANs with friends around around like Quake 1 and 2 era.
Me too.
Like the 320 by 200 really pixely Worms, but then I got into Worms Armageddon because a bunch of people I hung out on IRC with played it. And I don't even know what to say about it. Like, it's great. Worms Armageddon is great. The core Worms formula is generally good. I don't actually like all the things that he listed off about it that are great. Are
Do you
true.
think we need to explain what Worms is?
I guess so. For the people who have not come across the 36 Worms games
If
that
you've never
exist,
played a Worm,
Worms is a turn-based multiplayer game, but it looks like. Can I describe Worms in terms of Lemmings? Because Worms looks like Lemmings.
But it doesn't play
lot.
anything like Lemmings.
It doesn't, except that it's a ton of small characters on a weird sort of underground caverny maze
it
type
looks
situation.
a little,
Also, Team 17 made Lemmings games after they made Worms, which is weird. But you have, it's all sort of, it's a vertically stacked side-scrolling thing. It looks like you're playing inside of an ant farm, basically. You have a team of like 5 or 6 worms, and your opponent has a team
has
the same number of those. On a turn, you have a certain amount of time to perform an action. Like you'll have 30 seconds or something to move your worm around the map, which you can sort of inch them around. You can jump a little bit, and then you choose to assign the worm a weapon out of your arsenal, and you'll have like infinite rockets and some number of grenades, and then a bunch of fucking weird weapons where you can have the worm like release a sheep that will hop across the map for a while and explode, or like can call in an airstrike. And the objective is just to have the last worm left alive. The worms all have hit points, so like you'll have a board where like if it's 5v5, 5 worms per team, you're controlling one worm, and then the other 9 worms on the board are just standing absolutely still because it's turn based, so that one worm moves around and can affect a little bit of change. And obviously, well, not obviously, the worms are standing still, but if you shoot one of them with a gun, for instance, they'll take a couple of hits and knock back. But that could mean that they slide off of an edge, which could also mean
like they could knock another worm.
They could knock another worm, and that worm could then fall onto a thing that causes a landmine that's laying there from a previous turn to sort of roll down a hill and bounce, and then it's fine, except that other worm slowly slides down the hill into it and explodes that worm, and then explodes a flaming barrel, and it just like...
And that worm flies off in another direction, the corpse of it, and then it smashes into another worm, and maybe that worm was almost dead, and now it lost the last few hit points, which then causes it to explode, because when worms die, their corpses explode, which could then blow up another worm.
Yeah.
Chain reaction of death
usually
worms.
don't go that far.
They don't usually go that far, but sometimes they do, and it's outrageous.
Like, when you're playing, you can play, I think Worms Armageddon, at least I believe, could have 4 players playing, and the maps could get reasonably large. The community hacked it to make really huge maps, but like...
Awesome.
When you actually plan an amazing chain reaction of worm stuff and it works, it's incredible.
Oh, it's amazing.
But when you plan a chain reaction and then one step totally causes it to explode in the complete opposite direction, it's also good.
It's like pretty good.
Like Worms is a game where a grenade can roll down a hill, literally,
definitely.
and can cause fire to propagate, and that is also amazing because it causes a bunch of people to die that you do not intend to die. It's just as sad.
Yeah, including half of your worms.
I would call Worms the Far Cry 2 of turn-based
I was
competitive
waiting
games.
for that.
Worms, the Far Cry 2 of worms.
Of Worms. Worms Armageddon is the Far Cry 2 of Worms.
Yeah,
all the other
that's
Worms
true,
are Far Cry 3 and 4 of Worms.
And then he referred to ninja ropes, which was always my personal favorite thing in Worms. Ninja rope is an item that you have. I forget exactly how the quantity things work, but I think the quantity of ninja ropes have is like how many turns you can, like how many launches of it you have, and it's a rope.
If you don't
that you
touch the ground, you can just go.
So it's a rope that you shoot out. It's essentially a grappling hook, and it hits a wall or ceiling, and then you can like retract it, which will cause you to like shoot up along the rope and gain momentum, and then you can let it go and launch and then fire it again, and as long as you don't hit the ground, you can keep firing it indefinitely.
Right, but the physics on the ninja rope, especially at least in Worms Armageddon, but I think in many of the Worms games, I think they actually replicate the bad physics now. The way that the physics of the ninja rope work is that if you launch yourself, like you want to try to get on like the very edge of a surface. If there's like a little tiny outcropping, you want to like nail the end of that outcropping and zip yourself towards it, so that your guy sort of goes brrr, like physics bounces. But then if you put out more line when you're pointing up, the rope doesn't have coil physics or weight physics, so he just goes
straight up.
It just looks like he's on like a piston that just extends straight up, and then you can sort of push and lean your guy to the left, so you can sort of
Yeah.
like swing up and around and just have your guy launch up into the air and sort of arc
Yeah,
on the
you can
rope.
do crazy
and
things
then
with
let go
ninja
of the rope and then relaunch it up into the ceiling above you again, so you can do crazy vertical climbs. Like I bet still on YouTube, if you search for Worms Armageddon Pro roping, you will probably find people do the craziest shit, which is, I know what he's asking about. Because even just if you have a friend who plays enough and gets good at the ninja rope, it's a fucking sight to behold. Like, but people who are good at ninja rope also, again, are the masters of their own undoing, because you'll like. Oh, also, I think ninja rope, at least in some settings configurations, don't use up all of the. No, they use up time, but you just move so fast that you'll see someone like try to cleverly place dynamite on one side of the board and then like ninja rope all the way across the board as quickly as they can, and then they think, because they've executed that so well, that their final move is going to be to like cheekily land on another worm and knock them off a cliff.
Right.
To somehow try to get like 2 deaths on the opposite sides of the board. But what that obviously does is they get so greedy with it that time runs out on their final like swing, and then their rope disappears because the turn's over, and then they just like take 3 of their teammates into the water, and then their dynamite just somehow fails to even explode at all. Yeah. Like that's like that is totally the thrill of that game.
Yeah.
But it being like, and it's turn-based, which means you can hot seat it, like you said, but I feel like it being turn-based is probably the thing that would keep it from ever really like...
Right, being the same kind of competitive thing that you get from watching people go at each other in real time. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm trying to think if there are any other non-Worms games that embrace anything like this.
I mean, Worms itself descends from a long line of games like,
like
Scorched Earth and Cannon Fodder and things like that.
It feels like someone looked at Cannon Fodder or Scorched Earth and looked at Lemmings and basically combined those two things together.
I guess that's true.
Because like even Lemmings have the thing where they blow themselves up when they die. Like there's just a lot of weird little hallmarks in there, and like the sort of small innocuous character that has this obscene weird power for affecting the world.
Yeah. Worms.
Yeah, it feels like anything else that is like this is a strategy game, whereas I mean Worms kind of is, but when you're in control of that one character, it's basically real-time bad platforming. So it's like it is kind of turn-based tactical, I guess, like except that it has gravity like a platformer. It's a strange game. It's the Pikmin 2 of games.
Well,
the Pikmin 2 and the Far Cry 2.
That was an incredibly long answer. We should probably wrap it up.
I'm glad that I got to call Worms Armageddon the Far Cry 2 of Worms.
I know, it's not wrong.
And the Pikmin 2.
I thought the Pikmin 2.
No.
I mean, Pikmin 2 is great. It shouldn't. I mean, I shouldn't bring Pikmin 2 into the equation. But keep the episode running as long as possible. Though.
Yeah.
If Sean was here, he would have suffered 3 heart attacks.
Probably. And that's okay.
We are launching a new podcast.
Oh, yeah.
We mentioned it briefly during the ad break. Chris and I have been talking about doing this for a little while, and then we sort of got kicked in the butt by recent news events, but we are doing a Twin Peaks rewatch podcast called Twin Peaks Rewatch, where once a week we're going to watch an episode of Twin Peaks, and then on the podcast we're going to just talk about that episode between the two of us and anything that readers write in. Hopefully, or we can maybe get some guests on at some point. But the intent is to do the entire main run of the show, also to do the movie Firewalk with me, and then also maybe some of the weird stuff like the European pilot and some of the deleted scenes and stuff.
Mm-hmm. So our plan is, as Jake said, one of these a week, which means you should, if you want to follow along with us, you should watch the next episode, then listen to our watch whatever the next episode is, then listen to our podcast about it. Because we will be discussing, the plot events of that episode. Yep. Our intention, we've already gotten a bunch of people, once we sort of did a soft announcement of this on Twitter, a bunch of people asked, will this be suitable if I've never watched Twin Peaks before? The answer is yes, we're gonna try and make that work. And the way we think we're going to do that is we're going to just front load all of the discussion that is totally safe.
Like current episode and looking backwards.
Exactly. And then we'll have a break. And then if there's anything that we want to talk about that we think contains spoilers of future episodes or something to that effect, then it'll come after the break. There might be some episodes where that doesn't happen. I don't know. Yep. Probably some of just like the mid episodes where things are just chugging along, maybe that won't occur. But we will try to be very clear about when it is no longer safe to keep listening if you've never watched the whole series before.
If you're in it entirely for sort of the surprise of the mystery. And,
exactly.
That's...
And some people probably will not care and they'll just listen to the whole thing anyway. That's fine also. You can go to idlethumbs.net/Twin Peaks. There is currently just a placeholder episode up that we did just so that we could get on iTunes and all that stuff. Within the next few days, hopefully, definitely within the next week, we should have episode 1 up. You can follow us on Twitter at Peaks Rewatch. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/Twin Peaks Rewatch. And if you watch the U.S. pilot, not the European pilot, but the U.S. pilot, the just original main pilot of the show,
that's what we're talking about on the first episode.
That'll be the first episode. So
there's a like 0th episode up right now, which is about
saying nothing.
This exact same information.
Yeah. But yeah, if you want to watch the pilot episode before our first episode, you should do that. You can send us comments or questions about it following your viewing to Twin Peaks at idlethumbs.net, and that will end this very long plug.
Yep.
Plug.
Oh, also, actually, like we said in the ad break, if you want to watch Twin Peaks and don't want to go get the Blu-rays, which are excellent looking, it is on a bunch of streaming services, I believe, including Netflix and Hulu.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
True. And finally, this episode is brought to you by NatureBox, a delicious snack subscription service that we enjoy heartily, I would say. These are hearty snacks in many cases. If you go
They're hearty delicacies.
Yes. If you go to naturebox.com/thumbs, you can get a sample pack of 5 different nature snacks,
which you can
treats.
Eat while watching a future episode of Twin Peaks.
Oh, that's perfect.
And listening to the Twin Peaks Rewatch, which is our this podcast that we're going to make.
Wow, wow. Wow, wow.
New theme song for the podcast. Danielle going,
wow, wow. Good.
I miss Cacodemons. I miss the Cacodemon.
I don't have it, actually. That's false. A lie.
You don't have it?
Straight up lie. We have a bunch. Plushy Cacodemons at the Polygon office.
I was so confused because you're like, I don't have it. Like, no one was questioning whether you had one.
Whether you have Cacodemon. I've contracted.
They're in my bed.
I miss Cacodemons. I don't have it.
Do you have it? That's the sexual awareness protection.
Do you have a Cacodemon?
Jesus. Yeah.
Use protection against Cacodemons.
Just clinical Cacodemon.
Don't get the Cacodemon, friends.
Don't get the cac.
Oh, no. Toast them.
Toast them.
Oh. Even without Sean here, we say toast them.